Now, normally, I talk about business stuff. I mean, I stand in front of big crowds of CEOs and I tell them how they can make their companies a whole lot better. That's not what I'm going to talk about tonight. Tonight, I'm going to talk about something infinitely more important than profit and loss. Tonight, I'm going to talk about people. I'm going to talk about the power of one. The power of one person. The power of one idea. The power of one decision. The power of one commitment in the hands of ordinary heroes can make a difference in the world.
Hello, I'm Steve Blue, a nationally recognized expert on leading change and business transformation, and I appreciate your interest in bringing me in to speak to your organization. But rather than show an elaborately produced video demo with cleverly edited one-liners and dazzling special effects, my clients prefer to get to know me and my capabilities on a more personal basis. First, I am the CEO of a very successful privately held company in Minnesota that has achieved remarkable growth under my leadership. A 40-year-plus proven track record of leading change and inspiring company executives to increase creative thinking and innovation, ultimately resulting in greater products, top and bottom line business growth, and an exemplary company culture.
Make sure you're prepared. If you're going to make any kind of a big change in your organization, make sure you're prepared. In my particular case, the biggest problem I had wasn't cash. The biggest problem I had wasn't inventory. The biggest problem I had wasn't my customers, wasn't my marketing strategy. Can anybody guess what my biggest problem was? I was telling you guys before that you're going to think I wrote down everything you told me in the break. Absolutely, culture. Before you can make any kind of change in your company, in fact, in any company, you have to build what I call a culture by design, not default.
Second, my trademark, Seven Values of Ingenuity, and my expertise in creating company cultures by design, not by default, are proven business strategies that your audience can incorporate into their operations immediately.
First is culture by design. Second is you have to have communication that is relentlessly, what I call relentlessly simple, clear, convincing, and compelling. I keep pounding the same messages home. Every time I get employees in a room, I never miss the opportunity to, in a relentlessly simple way, to say, and this is really simple, it's going to be, here's what I say. The bad guys are out there, and they're coming for us. And the only way we're going to keep them from getting us is by getting better and better and better. Now, it's a little slicker than that, but not much. It's a very simple, compelling, convincing argument.
And finally, my signature keynote presentation shares with your audience the exact steps that have seen some of my companies grow as much as 400%. As the author of 3 popular books and appearances in and on Fox Business, The Wall Street Journal, Success Magazine, and a myriad of others, I've become a sought-after and a respected speaker. I trust that this short video introduction has demonstrated that I will exceed your expectations. What follows is a montage of video clips from various presentations mixed with impromptu audience reactions. The next step should be a meeting where we can discuss the details of your event so that I can custom design a presentation that your audience will never forget.
Doug Strauss, president of the CEO Club of Baltimore. We just heard Steve Blue speak. Really did a fantastic job. I mean, he really laid it on the line in terms of, how to grow your company, how to keep the company growing, whether it's a recession or whether it's in a growth perspective, and gave some real tangible insight in how to run a company.
And this is one of the key points of today is I had a workforce and an organization that was totally unprepared to deal with that change. We'd become bloated. We had high costs. Our lead times were, the locomotive builders would give us 6-8 months to deliver on a product. They were unmotivated. They were what I call toxic, which is the subject of my second book, $10 million employee, when your most toxic employee meets your most important customer, which happens every day. And if you don't know what I mean by that, excuse me, think of airline flight attendants. Anybody ever fly business class here? Okay, who do they put up front in the business class section? The ones that have been around, I call them the wombats of the air. The ones that have been around for 30 or 40 years or 20 years and they basically hate their job, they hate their supervisor, they hate you. And so that's a perfect example of what I call a toxic employee. And what I had in my case is I had all kinds of toxic employees in an organization that wasn't ready to make that kind of change. So that's the first. The second principle that you really have to understand is you have to build yourself a Cirque du Soleil team.
I thought he did a fantastic presentation. I just shared with Steve that I was tired, but he kept me on the edge of my seat the entire presentation.
I think the best thing about Steve is that he was transparent, clear, and he had a great sense of humor.
It was definitely a stark reality of business and how to run a business today.
Who remembers the recession of 2008? Why isn't everybody raising their hand? Did anybody suffer during that recession? Did your businesses get soft? Did you have sleepless nights? Now, who did not see the recession coming? Most people saw it coming, right? But the fat, dumb, and happy CEO, he saw it coming or she saw it coming, but they decided to ignore it, hoping things would get better. And a lot of companies went belly up during the recession, didn't they? And even in my case, we lost 25% of our top line, but we still made a ton of money because we were ready for it. Now, the antithesis to the happy, dumb, and happy CEO is the paranoid one. Anybody in that crowd? Andy Grove used to say, what did Andy Grove used to say about paranoid? Only the paranoid survive. And a friend of mine who's a Harvard Business School professor once told me, he said, always remember this, just because you're paranoid does not mean someone is not out to get you. So in my view, you have to have a balance between the fat, dumb, and happy CEO and the paranoid CEO, always moving more toward the paranoid.
He was terrific. He's one of the few CEOs I've heard that talks so transparent and was so authentic in his insights and observations.
Very interesting. Had a lot of great ideas and a lot of things to take back to work and think about.
Well, I thought he was very inspirational, and he has a different style of delivery that I think is extremely effective. The way he isolates the points and emphasizes them. And obviously, he's been there and done it. It's always interesting to hear from somebody that has had experience.
I thought Steve's message was right on track with what I've seen in organizations. I do consulting work at the management executive level, and a lot of the messages that Steve left with us today are things that I've seen organizations need to be effective, change their culture, and create an environment of accountability and execution. I thought it was an excellent presentation.
Very enthusiastic, great presenter, great subject matter. Really enjoyed it.
I thought that he was great. I mean, he's very decisive and very knows exactly what he's talking about. Love his discussion on culture.
Steve did a great job. It was an enlightening speech, and he breaks very complex tasks into very a simple set of procedures that help get problems solved.
Steve is great. I appreciate the no-nonsense style and the honest, successful feedback stories he was able to share. I think Steve's message was right on. It's a group of corporate executives here at ACG Denver, and I think he hit home what they need to hear. It's hard for them to get advice, good advice from an experienced CEO. It's lonely at the top, and I think his message hit right on.
Went amazing. He looked very cool up there. All made us laugh. Did a great job. Very entertaining.
Very energetic. Very great information. I'm excited to actually take some of that back to my company and use some of what he's talked about.
He did a great job. We enjoyed having him cover a variety of material, covering topics that affect every CEO and business leader, people, profits, and evolving your business. Steve's a wonderful speaker. He means it from the heart when he talks. He's not just up there throwing out a bunch of numbers. He's just a well-rounded, successful business person, and I like his approach.